Hello, my name is Alexa Chapman. I have chosen to analyze a sculpture near my hometown in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The name of this piece is And Jesus Wept. It was designed by David Meyer. And Jesus Wept was created in response to the Oklahoma City bombing on April 19, 1995. The Alfred P. Murrah building was bombed and completely destroyed. Across the street from the Murrah building was St. Joseph's Old Cathedral, which was severely damaged as well. Archbishop Eusebius J. Beltran of St. Joseph was inspired to create a monument for the bombing on the church's old site. Meyer said Beltran requested a monument that would have a healing effect, but also tell the story of the site's Catholic history. It is a statue of Jesus standing with his back facing the site of the bombing of Oklahoma City. He is standing on a granite block and surrounded by 19 granite pillars. Each pillar represents a child that was killed in the bombing. The statue of Jesus is made with white stone, which contrasts with the black granite on which it stands. Jesus has his right hand on his face, covering his eyes in sadness. His left hand is clenched in a fist and held over his heart. Jesus faces a wall that has 160 gaps in it. These represent voids for all the lives lost that day. This sculpture was created so that Jesus would look very realistic. He is exactly what you would picture him to look like. The long hair, the robes, the gentle hands. I also believe that the sculpture is romanticized because it highlights a very emotional aspect of Jesus through the placement of his hands on his face. David Meyer does this to put Jesus in an attitude of grief and loss. Although this is how one would expect Jesus to react to a tragedy like this, Meyer focuses on exemplifying this character of Jesus to the audience. Another methodology that would accurately classify this piece is iconography. In the Christian faith, Jesus is the center of it all. He saved us from death and died to take all of our sins. And Jesus Wept pulls at the heartstrings because of the symbol that Jesus plays in so many lives. He is known to be the comforter of the weak, the protector, the Prince of Peace, and the King of Kings. The use of Jesus as opposed to any other figure is so significant. No one could measure up to the amount of influence that Jesus has on most people's lives. Jesus is an icon. He is recognizable, and because of this, the artist is able to capture him so precisely that the audience is much more likely to grasp the emotion David Meyer was shooting for. On the black granite pedestal which Jesus stands on, there is an inscription which alludes to John chapter 11 in the Bible. John 11 talks about Jesus crying over the lives that would be lost due to the destruction of Jerusalem. Jesus is depicted the same way during this destruction as well. The way artist David Meyer designed And Jesus Wept resembles the period of art that existed in 19th century realism. During this time, people were depicted just as they were seen. In many cases, in realism, the art had to do with problems in the community or problems that the nation was facing at the time. This is similar to the sculpture of Jesus because he is created to be a symbol of peace through a time when the community had to lean on Jesus to pull through. This was and continues to be a very real and raw emotional time for so many loved ones. The first time I saw And Jesus Wept was during a school field trip I took with my class in 8th grade. We went and took a tour at the Oklahoma City Memorial Museum. The trip was quite emotional because we learned about the bombing and all the tragedy that came with it. We experienced the shrapnel that violence and death leaves behind, sadness and mourning and fear. The entire memorial itself is breathtaking and abounding in memories and beautifully constructed artwork to capture the lives of those who died in the building. The And Jesus Wept statue is ingrained in my memory because of how perfectly it ties the message of hope for the future into the memorial site. This sculpture is a bold statement of the brokenness that occurred within the Oklahoma community after the bombing. There is innumerable amount of value in this piece. The value is not monetary, but the religious, psychological, and sentimental value is abundant. Although there is no replacement for the loss, this statue will stand as a reminder of everyone affected and offer hope to all those grieving and mourning their loved ones.